when I got Altberg started, I was making hiking boots, and then I thought, well, I'm going to make myself a motorcycle boot. And I made my first motorcycle boot. And I had problems. And the problem was, I'd always made boots up to about this height. I found that when I tried to do the leg of the boot, it was going all wrong. It was going too wide, it was going too high in comparison. I just couldn't keep the proportions. And I had quite a few goes at it. I couldn't get it. And so I went back to I have lots of old books that I was given by the man who taught me. And he made these boots in the 1920s and 30s. And this book is 1914. And it's written by a chap called Sidwell, who was the lecturer in boot making at Glasgow College. And it's got a lovely thing in here because it says it's the modern boot and shoemaker, and it's written by practical men of wide experience. I think that's a lovely way of putting it. And you see at the front, it's got the Cordwainer's crest at the front. So lovely books. It's got lovely things. I'm going to go through to this side of the boot making, which is where we do this book is full of calculations. They're all in old things, 1 1/4 inch, 1 1 1/8, 5/16. It's all the old fittings, right? Now, again, I'm old enough to be able to work with feet and inches in that way, and I can still think in feet and inches. And so you'll start to see the construct. He's showing a construct of a higher leg, beginning how you do it. This what he's doing here is the manner in which the boot is made. It's 3-dimensional geometry. And although you may not see it, he's giving you different measurements that you must try and keep to. And you'll see some more here, but now we come to this is the boot. This is the boot I based it on. This is a boot, it says here, the construction of standard and pattern of field boots is rather difficult to explain theoretically. The student could learn it better in making the boot under the tuition of a practical expert. And then it says it's hardly possible, but it gives you the construction of the diagram and how you should do it, and so I went back, if you like, to square one, and I started to look again at the construction, how they would have made a high boot leg in 1914, and the result was my first motorcycle boot. So I made my first motorcycle boot. It was called the Clubman Classic. It looked more like the shape of leg on a British Army camo boot or a British Army field boot. It was the shape of the leg there, and I think that probably, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 motorcyclists out there today still wearing the Clubman Classic. It was a really good boot for its day, and it wasn't this one. This is one of the later ones I did, but the method still applies. So I made my boots first of all for the police in Cumbria. It's called the Roadrunner. What I want in a motorcycle boot is good flex at the back. So we put a flex in the back like that. We have a zip all the way down the side here, and it's a good zip with a bellows, so that makes it waterproof, and it's a good bellows, but the bellows is also lined inside with Simbatex. It's not just a bellows on its own. The waterproofing down there is as good as anywhere else on the boot. Up here, I always like to have one smooth piece of leather, because again, it's about waterproofing. You want the water to wash down the boot and wash off it when you're riding. And the boots we make are different to many motorcycle boots in that they are quite a strong boot. But one of the advantages of that strength is we have good crush resistance. It passes a crush resistance test when we have it tested at Satra. It gives protection from sideways crushing. If you come off your bike and your foot gets trapped under the bike, you'll be very glad that you've got a boot on that just doesn't fold like that. It will give you some protection. It's got a hiking boot sole, because you can spend as much time off the bike walking around as what you're out on the bike. Although, in many ways, feet are getting bigger, the size of calves is not increasing to the same extent, but there is some leeway for adjusting. In this boot, again, you'll see we have an ability to adjust at the back. This boot's called the Roadrunner, so that's it there. Now, in my office here, where you can look around and you see I have memorabilia all around the walls. It's just, I don't know, everything on these walls means something to me. In motorcycling, I have a hero, and my hero is a chap called Carl Stearns Clancy. This is a great article from the Adventure Biker and Rider magazine. Great magazine, and it tells the story of Charles Stearns Clancy. And Charles Stearns Clancy, in 1912, from America, he rode a Henderson 4-cylinder motorcycle bike around the world. Now, it's one thing to go around the world nowadays, but can you imagine in 1912 taking off from the States and travelling around the world on a 4-cylinder Henderson motorcycle? Now, that's an adventurer. And if I hadn't been a bootmaker, I really would have liked to have been Carl Stearns Clancy. He's a hero. That's why I have him on my wall there. To me, he carries the true spirit of biking.